that your original question? How does cryptocurrency work?
Yeah, how does it
Okay.
work? Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get into a little bit of that. There was this island, I think it was like 600 years ago. It's called the island of Yap. And the island of Yap was using the barter system that we spoke about. They were trading fish for rice and so on and so forth. And this island, what they didn't have on the island was a specific stone. They didn't have gold or silver or anything like that, but they also didn't have limestone. But they got limestone from explorers and fishermen that would go out to the sea and bring them back. But because they didn't have limestone on the island itself, they saw this limestone as something sought after and valuable, but they were really, really heavy. Sometimes 1, 2, 3 ton circular limestones that they just put in the middle of the village, right? And so if someone wanted to buy the limestone, you can't put it in your house. You can't bring it in your house. Like, no one's going to carry it. But you just cared about the ownership of that limestone. And you kind of use this limestone as a form of currency. But if you can't move it, how did they trade it? Well, what they did is the owner of the limestone, which typically the first owner would be some sort of the captain of the ship or the fisherman, he would then call out the rest of the villagers, all of them out of their houses, right? And he would say, I bought that hut from that guy, right? And he brings the guy with him in front of the village. He is now the new owner of this limestone. Now, the limestone's not going to move. You guys go back to your home, but we all know that he's the new owner. And now I'm the new owner of that hut, right? And so what they did is kind of agree orally, right? They reached what is called oral consensus, that the new owner of the limestone was so-and-so, right? And the only way that you could steal it, well, you can't carry it, right? And everyone knows each other. So the only way you can steal it is convince half the village that it's yours when it's really not. But that's a really difficult task. Now, interestingly enough, this island, I don't know if I mentioned, but it's called the island of Yap, right? And the people of Yap. And these limestones were called rye stones, I think. Very interesting story. And this example of oral consensus is probably the closest example to how the blockchain actually works today. And that example was like 600 years ago, right?
Amazing.
And what they had was they had an oral ledger. They kept record of who the new owner was for each limestone. Now that's how Bitcoin works. You can think of Bitcoin as these digital form of these limestones. And people are not coming out of their huts to agree on a new owner for each and every Bitcoin, but there are computers that are plugged into the blockchain, which is the network that houses all the coins. And the blockchain is basically a digital ledger where all these computers are putting their computer power in and recording every single transaction since the first transaction. And so every single computer that's connected to the blockchain, it has a record of all the transactions and all the wallets and all the balances ever. And so if you hack one computer, the rule is you just trust the majority, right? And so to really hack the Bitcoin blockchain, you need to hack at least 50% of all the computers that are connected to the blockchain. Now, here's the interesting part. There is a reason why that's not feasible or possible, and that goes into the little gears and levers of how the Bitcoin blockchain actually works. It's not oral consensus, it's called proof of work consensus. It takes actual computing work to actually be a part of the blockchain. And if you want to know more about that, to anyone who's listening, I wrote a quite lengthy blog, but it's very easy read, right? On my LinkedIn on how Bitcoin actually works.
Perfect.
Right?